Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now I've been very fortunate because the shoe fairy has called at my house twice in the last week, and actually it's brought me some interesting things to talk about today. It's brought me a pair of shoes from the oldest established shoe factory currently manufacturing shoes in the UK, and it's also brought me a pair of shoes from one of the younger shoe offering companies here in the UK. So I'm just going to talk you through what I've got here, just because, you know, I just like to share the beauty of men's footwear, because as I often say, shoes are absolutely the foundation of any man's outfit. And as I recently discovered through reading some information about the way that women look at men, they undoubtedly, scientifically, will look at your shoes and draw some sort of information about you from what you've put on your feet. So let's start with the youngest first and tell you what I've got here. Well, the first thing I would say is that these shoes have been acquired for a purpose, because coming up in November, I shall be attending the Autumn Elegance Gala in London, which will necessitate the wearing of black tie, a dinner suit. And I have to say, I've had a pair of patent leather shoes to go with my dinner suit for many years. In fact, they were made by the brand Chini, but they were what you would describe towards the inexpensive end because they were cemented. And this is the problem when you buy shoes which are glued together. At the very moment that you need them, they're going to fall apart. And that's exactly what happened to me a little over a year ago. I was getting ready to go out to a black tie do. I put my shoes on and the sole separated from the upper and I was left in the lurch. Fortunately, I pulled out a pair of mirror shine black cap toe Oxfords, but I've been wanting to treat myself to a pair of patent leather black hole cut shoes which I can wear with my dinner suit. And Thomas Bird came along and they had the perfect offering in their Mayfair patent leather shoe. Now, as you can see, it's a hole cut, which means there are no seams. It is one continuous piece of high quality black patent leather which makes up this shoe, and that's what gives it its high level of formality. So the less adornments to a shoe that you have, no broguing, no seams across the toe cap, the less adornments, the more formal. The Oxford style of lacing, of course, that is considered to be the most formal also because it's sleek. Again, there are no flaps, quite simple, straightforward, and that's what we want with black tie. Nothing which is outlandish and flamboyant, and that's exactly what the Mayfair is. Now, it's a lovely made shoe, actually. Thomas Bird, I've had 3 pairs of shoes from them. I've had a pair of loafers and I've had a pair of full wingtip brogue shoes, and I've been very pleased with all of them. Thomas Bird is a British company which is based up in Northampton here in the UK, and their shoes I think they're designed in the UK but manufactured in Italy. So they're able to bring them to you at quite an approachable price point. To give you an idea, this pair of Mayfair hole cut patent leather black shoes cost £395. Now, it's got a full calf leather lining. It's got leather sole, Blake stitched, so I'm not going to have the problem of the sole separating from the upper again, because they are mechanically connected by stitching. They're not going to fall apart. These are shoes which are going to be with me for quite some time. It's got a stacked leather heel with rubber, so it means it gives me the traction but also the quality of a stacked leather heel with a rubber insert at the quarter. And it's just finished in rather a splendid way. I very much like the fact that there are fabric touches around the lacing, around the entry to the shoe, and just up the back of the heel, which is perfect, really. That little tie-in with your black tie outfit. So I'm absolutely delighted with this pair. I rather like the modern, sleek shape to the last as well, the sort of elongated look to the shoe. It's perfect for looking contemporary, yet classically elegant in the black tie. So that's something I'm very much looking forward to wearing, as I say, from one of the younger companies where you can buy shoes here in the UK. Now, going back to one of the oldest companies, and I believe it is the oldest factory, still manufacturing in the UK. And it's a brand which I have a little bit of a fixation for, because I did a factory tour maybe 2 years ago now, and I just fell in love with the ethos and the history and heritage of this brand, and it is Trickers. Now, Trickers hold the royal warrant. They provide footwear for the King, and they did so before he was King, when he was Prince of Wales. And they are mostly known for being, I would say, a country shoe manufacturer. Particularly, they're well known for their Stow boots and their Borton shoes, which are somewhat more chunky, brogue style outdoor wear. I mean, I have a pair of their boots and they are just bomb-proof. They are built like tanks. However, I come to a point in my life where I was thinking to myself, you know, I needed a new city shoe, something I could wear with a suit. I've recently joined a livery guild in London, and this necessitates me going to far more sort of formal events where I'll be wearing a suit. So I wanted a shoe which was a bit more elegant and city appropriate, certainly London appropriate. So I could have easily gone for Crockett & Jones or any of those other, you know, very well-known companies like Cheney and Church and so on. But I wanted to stay loyal to a brand which I have a great deal of affinity for, with Trickers. So I looked through their collection and I found this is their Kensington semi-brogue shoe. And for me, it hit a perfect middle ground. It is still elegant with lots of adornments to it. The semi-broguing, of course, being made or being popularized by John Lobb, one of the world's greatest shoemakers. And the semi-brogue just gives us broguing across the medallion at the front of the shoe, with the toe cap as well, and across the various quarters of the shoe and up around where we slip our foot in. So it gives the shoe texture, pattern, and visual authority. It grabs the attention. And that's exactly what I was looking for. Again, it's an Oxford style, Oxford being rather more elegant, in my view, very much more of a city shoe, whereas the Derby style, where you have the two flaps with the quarters on the front come together, where they're stitched on the outer element of the shoe, a little more, you know, country rather than town. Of course, the broguing is subtle. It's not like the larger broguing which you would find in their country collection. The broguing traces its heritage back to, you know, the more Celtic times, Ireland, Scotland and so on, where the broguing holes, it is said, were actually punched through the shoe to allow the egress of water which would have got into the shoe as one was walking through, I don't know, peaty bogs or moors in Scotland and so on. And the broguing was very much a practical addition to the shoe to allow ventilation. Now it's just there for visual interest. And from my point of view, I've always been somebody who prefers broguing on a shoe, because I find if this was just a cap-toe Oxford shoe, it's plain. It lacks charisma, whereas broguing gives what I've said, visual authority. It captures the eye. The colour is something also which I was very drawn towards. This is what they call a museum burgundy colour. Museum is this sort of cloudy effect which you will see in the leather, where there are sort of muted different shades within the same leather. And I think it gives it a patinaed look from the beginning of its life with you. So very much beautiful colour. And actually, in recent years, just through being an observer of the men's shoe world, I noted that burgundy was slipping away from many of the shoe companies' offerings. Not that many of the big shoe companies now have a burgundy city shoe of this kind in their collection. In fact, Trickers have actually discontinued this shoe, which is their Kensington semi-brogue, and I actually picked this shoe up from their online factory store. So I was actually able to make a saving of about 45%. This shoe costs only £295 for a shoe which is entirely handmade in the Trickers factory in Northampton. And I can vouch for that because I've been in that factory and I've seen them being made, and they're all made by genuine artisans who love footwear. So some of the features which I rather like about this shoe, again, sort of a traditional semi-brogue in an Oxford, but beautiful colour with the leather, and underneath it's a leather sole, but you will note that it is a hidden channel, so you cannot see the stitching. It's Goodyear welted, which means this shoe can be refurbished by trickers or any other ably qualified manufacturer or cobbler as the years go by, but you cannot see where the stitching is, because what they do, they lift up the corner of the sole, they apply the stitching, then they glue it back down, so you have invisible stitching, and I think it gives it a rather elegant look underneath. Not that anybody's going to be looking underneath. You can see that it is a stacked leather heel with a rubber insert, so it gives you that traction as you walk along. Just utterly elegant, and when achieved at a lovely price as well, it's a very welcome addition. In fact, I shall be in London next week attending an event at my livery guild, and these are what I should be wearing, and in a few weeks time these are the shoes that I will be wearing to the Autumn Elegance Gala. By the way, we still have tickets available for the Autumn Elegance Gala on the 22nd of November in London. I will put the link down below to the Eventbrite where you can go and book that. It's an excuse to put your black tie on and have a wonderful evening out with like-minded people, and an opportunity to wear your favourite shoes too. So I thought I'd take this opportunity just to share what the Shoe Fairy brought me. What do you think of my new acquisitions? Let me know in the comment section below, and ask me a question about anything you might want to know about the men's footwear world. I would be delighted to offer you my thoughts. So, until the next time we meet, my dear friends, take care, and I'll see you very soon.